Hello everyone. I wanted to do a little video about a protocol that I have put in place for my son and how that is going. I've had a lot of people messaging me. I've put a few comments about it and quite a few people have messaged me wanting to know more. So I thought the best way to let people know more is to do a video. So really interesting journey that we're on with my middle son from I'm not a massive fan of labels, but they do help define a little bit of what's going on. Struggles with OCD and anxiety, all which was brought on by the lockdown. He's always shown kind of neurodiverse tendencies, but the lockdown exacerbated it all. I think when the rug is pulled out from underneath people, and it was for many people, you control what you can, and that's where these things can become exacerbated. Anyway, down the line, obviously from there, we are looking at an autism diagnosis and potentially something called PDA, which is pathological demand avoidance. And some places in the UK don't recognise that and other places do. But basically that feeling of the body being so frayed that more demands make you freeze and you just can't do anything, even if you want to do that thing. So we've really worked to pull back on demands, to do loads of things to help him, and he's in a much better space, than he was. It's really beautiful to see the journey of him kind of recovering from a burnout, basically. And that's kind of where he was at a year and a half ago in massive burnout mode. And recently, in the summer, I started doing a few things. I started a protocol, and this has had a really profound effect on him. He was in quite a dark space a lot of the time, and you'd get glimpses of this light of who my boy was, but quite often he was just shrouded in this darkness. And when I started this protocol, that darkness seemed to fade away, and now that darkness is there so little, and it's mainly just my boy, and sometimes it comes out for moments. He says, "Oh, sorry," and kind of snaps back into it, which is really beautiful to see that, because I wondered at some points if I would ever see that lightness again, or if the dark had just kind of taken over. So what I've been doing, a lot of you know me and my love of mushrooms. I've been researching the mushrooms more and more, and I'm writing a book currently on the endocannabinoid system, which is our body's way of finding balance. So what I felt was, my boy is massively out of balance in his body, and that's part of the problem. So researching it, one of the things I found out was that the medicinal mushrooms, bracket fungus, work to stimulate the receptor points in the endocannabinoid system. So they help us to uptake our own cannabinoids at a greater rate. So a really useful thing. But not only that, the medicinal mushrooms. So when I'm talking medicinal mushrooms, I've had made for him, and I'm going to be putting it on my website soon, a tincture to support him, which is reishi, chaga, lion's mane, turkey tail, and birch polypore. And this has been super, super helpful for him. Lion's mane is very good for cognitive function. Reishi and chaga both help reduce adrenal fatigue and stress within the body. Birch polypore and turkey tail is very good for rebalancing the digestive system and reducing inflammation in the body. Those are just a few key points of these incredible mushrooms. They are so, so powerful. So I've had someone make up this tincture, which I give him as often as I can. One of our issues is around food, and he controls his food. So it's very hard for me to make stuff that I can put stuff in to give it to him. He wants to buy stuff from the shops very often, which is hard for me as a nutritionist to not be able to make my son food that often, or even drinks. But we're getting there, and we've been doing it more and more. He's letting me. So now a few times a week I can get him something. And what I found was that he was having stuff with ketchup. I could give him ketchup, even if he'd got something, I could get him some ketchup. So I've been putting it into a bowl and mixing it with my mushroom tincture. I've also been using a probiotic called VSL3, which was recommended to me in the summer by a lovely man, Russ. Thank you, Russ. And he said it's a really good probiotic for people on the spectrum. So I thought, well, let's give it a go. It's tasteless, it's a white powder. So I've been putting that in the ketchup. Can't taste it, can't see it. Ketchup hides everything, which is great. So I've been putting that in there as well. And over the summer, I went to a great talk by a lovely woman, Rose Todd, from the barkflowerschool.com. And she was doing a talk on flower remedies. And she was going through some of the most common flower remedies. And she gave us this form: impatiens, mimulus, larch, walnut, white chestnut, olive, rock rose. And as she was reading through, some of them were jumping into my head as Eliar. So holly is a remedy for anger, hatred, and jealousy, and violent outbursts and childlike tantrums. And I thought, that's Eliar. So I got some holly. Impatience for that irritability. So I used some of that. Larch is about confidence, and I felt like he needed that too. Mimulus is for anxiety, and olive is to restore your energy after being physically exhausted. So, white chestnut as well, to stop those repeat thoughts going round in your head. Excellent for insomnia, which Eliar has. He doesn't sleep. We're working on that. We're working on everything. And what's amazing is that as we work on these things, they are improving. So I got her to make up a bottle of the flower remedies. And again, I put that into the ketchup or into water or whatever I could, as much as I could, into these different things. And within a few weeks, I started to see a change. And that change has just been increasing and increasing and increasing. And what I noticed is if I don't give him these things for a few days, it pulls back a little bit, not hugely now, but just a little bit. I can see him being more tense, more aggravated. So the combination, it's not a lot of things I'm doing because I can't do a lot. But these three things, probiotics, so important as we support our guts, the mushrooms to reduce that stress, and then the kind of more energetic of the flower remedies. And that combination has been so, so powerful to help him on this journey. There are other things I'd like to add in, like essential fats, but I can't get that in right now. And more vitamin D and my all you need superfood powder, because then I'd know he was getting these nutrients. But what's interesting is as he started to have the probiotics, what I noticed is his choice of food started to widen from this very narrow band of food that he would eat. It started to widen and go back to where it was, or getting back there, as he used to be great with food. So that's really, he's eating more fruits. It's expanding, which is what we want, because the more he expands his food range, then obviously the more it supports him physically and mentally, because what we consume affects our gut, which affects our mental health. It affects everything. So it's amazing to see those steps, starting to help with things. And sometimes when you're working with people with mental health or neurodiverse issues, it's not stuff that can be seen. It's not like you've got a broken leg. It can be really hard, and obviously many kids like that restrict their food, so then getting nutrients into them, getting these things into them can be hard. So it's about being very creative and finding those ways. And whenever he's like, oh, can you make me a tea, or can you get me some water? I'd be like, yes, an opportunity, quick, mushrooms, quick. And it was, and then he'd drink it and I'd think, yes, score, tick. But we have to do these things. There are things that we have to do to be able to enable us to help and support in a way that is maybe a bit hidden, so it's not rejected. So I just wanted to share that a bit because, as I said, I've had quite a few people wanting to know about these things. And so for me, those medicinal mushrooms are just incredible. They're so important. Lion's mane really helps with that rebuilding of the nervous system, which I think so many children who are on the spectrum, who have neurodiverse conditions, end up becoming so fried because they have to mask and pretend to be someone they're not. And that fries the nervous system. And that's when they have these burnouts. And that's when things like the PDA comes out in force. And it's when we can relax all of that, that these things start to diminish in their system so that they can function and do the things that they love and want to. And ultimately, that's what we want everyone to be, the best them that they can be. Lots of love.